create your ellipse, and then we're going to paste in place, and that's Command Shift and V. The reason why you want to paste in place versus, you know, paste just in the standard way is that offsets it, so that's something we don't want. So we'll paste in place. We're going to press E to transform it, and we're going to hold Alt and Shift. I'm just going to drag that down a little bit to create our middle section. Let's eyedrop that. And just to bring your attention over here, in the past, you know, I have sort of, you know, showed the power of the appearance panel, but we're also going to sort of see, you know, once again, how important this is as part of a workflow for UI within Illustrator. You know, you can like stack so many things up in here just on one object, and it's really cool, like especially the strokes, like you can have inside, outside, center strokes all on the same object. It's something you can't do in Figma. It's one of the reasons why Illustrator is really cool for this sort of workflow. So what I'll do is I will create a stroke, and this will be the bit that obviously runs around pretty much all of the elements that we can see here. Cool. And we'll just set that to outside. So see these dotted lines under here? That's how you'd access that, but there are other ways. You know, you could do it this way as well, have the stroke window specifically, and that will change based on whichever one's selected in the appearance panel. But for now, we'll hide that. It's not really, you know, how I usually work with it. And then we'll create a fill. So we'll keep the colored one, but we'll duplicate that. So in order to duplicate, you can either just add, and then the one that you've selected, it will duplicate that, or you can click, press Alt and drag, and then that will create a duplication of it too. And I'll just fill that black. And what we'll do is we'll go to Distort, Transform, and we will make sure we've got preview on, and the vertical offset, we're just going to push it down a couple of pixels. It seems to be like a little bit of a drop shadow. This is one of the ways you can do a drop shadow. You could obviously use the raster effects as well, but yeah, I don't typically use them too much. And then what I'll do is I'll just increase the scale on that horizontal axis there. Cool. We'll leave that there for now. That's good. Right, so I'm just going to paste that. What we're going to see is we'll delete this, and we'll keep that. We'll remove the stroke, and there's no stroke there. Let's select the inner circle, the outer circle, and we'll go to Pathfinder, and we're going to this minus front. And then that gives us our donut shape. And the reason why we need to do that is we zoom in, select the paintbrush over here. If we just drag our little shape like that, let me just change that to white, or just drag. We're recreating this little bit here. This is one of the ways you can do it. You could freehand it, which is absolutely fine to do. It's up to you. And we're just going to outline that. So using this process when you're, you know, doing your paint brushes or your brush strokes and stuff like that, you know, it draws on the path. So you just convert it. You could also use the blob tool as well. But yeah, where is that? I haven't used that for absolutely ages. Should be in here somewhere. Maybe it's, oh, there it is. Yeah, you could do the blob brush. And then that, in a similar way, that just lets you paint on top. And as you can sort of see, it's already filled in. So it's sort of like personal preference or what you're used to. And then, yeah, just sort of press on. Don't worry too much about whether it's the exact right way of doing it at this point. No one really cares as long as it looks cool at the end. So that's that highlight then. I'm just gonna Alt and drag that to create a duplication of it. And same down here, we're just gonna sort of wiggle these, add a little bit of variation to it. So you can see the two anchor points were stacked there. which sometimes does happen. Nothing too concerning, as long as the anchor points are connected. So that's the main thing. So we're just gonna drag this around, get an interesting shape. Maybe we'll do the same up here. We're just gonna drag around. You know, I'm pressing Alt at this point to drag individual anchor point handles. But if you want it to affect both anchor point lines, then yeah, you don't need to press anything, just drag around and that'll create something for you. Sweet. Let's remove that. So that's looking good. What we'll do is we'll bring that back over, and I'm going to bring it to the top. So that was Command Shift and the right bracket. Or you could do it another way, which is, I think it's arrange and then bring to front. There we are. We're going to select the two items or objects that we want to mask, and then we're going to select the mask, and then we'll make a clipping mask. And there you can see we've got a highlight in place. So looking good. Seems slightly off center to me, so we just need to make sure that's snapping. And if it's not snapping, it could be to do with one of your settings, but the best way to sort of handle it is to select the thing that you're trying to align, select the thing you're trying to align it to by pressing Shift, and then click again. And what that's going to do, that's going to enable Align to Key Object, and then using the Align tools, you're just going to press this one, and you're going to press this one, and that's going to pull it perfectly in place. Sometimes, like, you know, aligning to grids and stuff in Illustrator can be a little bit funny. You know, if you've got like snap to point, snap to pixel, sometimes get a little bit confused. At least that's what I find. So that's that. We're going to hop over to here and we're going to create a star. And I'm pressing Shift and Alt here to drag this out. If you press Command whilst you're doing it, you'll be able to get a similar shape to what they have. Now the Shift is obviously locking it. So if you press Shift, and then if you press the command at any point, they don't have to be at the exact same time, as long as you've stacked up those, it should be okay. And then release the command when you've got your shape. If you want to change it again, just press that command again, just start dragging, but always holding Shift if you want your object to be like this. It's a little bit fiddly to get used to, but it's just one of those things. It definitely helps. Just round this off a little bit. I'm going to increase that size a little bit. Cool, yeah, so this is quite a soft transition. You won't get like too into, you know, getting it, matching it perfect, but what we'll do is we'll create a triangle. That does not look like a triangle. Polygon, and okay, cool. So yeah, we've created our star. Now what we want to do is we want to sort of position it so it creates this little shadow here. And what I will do is I'm just going to select the base color of the star, and then I'm going to adjust this so the points kind of, the lines cut through roughly sort of halfway. And I will duplicate that and I'm going to rotate it. There we go. If I press E and drag this little blue icon here, that's my anchor point. And I'm just going to, once again, just fiddle around with this and get it roughly where I want it to be. You don't need to be too precious. for now. You just want it to be close enough. Let's just find that center point. Okay, is there. There we go. That's cool. Right, so obviously that's a highlight that stays white. This is the shadow, and it looks like it's either purple or it's kind of black, and it's been multiplied over or something like that with semi-transparency or something. What we'll do, we'll keep it simple. Take these, so I'm going to duplicate that, and we're about to create another mask. So select the two things that are going to be masked and select the mask. Create clipping mask. And then you can sort of see, before you know it, we've got the basis of that icon design. It looks pretty cool. The stroke, is that fully black? It is not, I don't think so. Cool, so that is icon 1. Now, once you've done icon 1, it's going to be very easy to do icon 2. So we'll create a duplicate of that, zoom back in, we're going to remove all this, but we're going to keep that. And this is like the easy part, in the sense of, what you're going to do is just, select the colors that you need. Oops. And you're going to press Alt if you want to eyedrop and only affect the, Shift, you're going to press Shift, to pick up the color and only apply it to, the object without changing the overall, style there. So we'll do that. And there's a little bit of variation here, and I think it's those, when you've got like reusable UI elements, it's nice to have that subtle variation between them. There's two things that is quite different here. The highlight seems to be slightly richer, like it isn't just white that's been sort of dropped in sort of light transparency. It looks like there's probably some sort of effect going on potentially. So you could do that if you wanted to. In order to do that, you just select the fill, go to your blending modes, and maybe a soft light or something like that could be quite nice. But have a play with that, so you can get exactly what you need. Move on to the skull now. So the skull gets relatively close to the edge like the star did. And we're just gonna drag that up. As you can sort of see, it's obviously not a circle or an even circle. And we're gonna create this little box. This is the mouth. I'm gonna put a little bit of a corner radius on it. It's hard to tell because this picture's so low res, but we'll soften it a little bit because it's more playful. Create 2 circles, and just for now, we'll colour them in, just so we can see what we're working with. Press E to scale, and zoom right in, if it lets me. Just rotate that just so it's a little bit more fun there. Right click and reflect, and you want it to reflect vertically. And then for the last bit of this, I'm just going to create that nose. Sure, why not? Let's just round it off. It's kind of late. I wasn't actually going to round it off, but it's one of the things. Like if it happens, just go with it sometimes. And yeah, it's looking pretty cool. So what I'll do is I'll join these together, and I'm going to shrink these down actually just a little bit. And this one. There we go. So I'm going to move it over a bit. That's looking good. So I'm going to select these three, and then I'm going to select the skull, and I'm going to minus front again. Looking good, and that's obviously just the same color as. Okay, cool. So there's a little highlight here that we just need to add. Looks relatively straightforward. Cool. What I'm going to do is I'm going to turn all these off. Be a bit free. There we go. It's looking good. So there's no stroke around that, but I noticed on the star there's actually, yeah, some sort of stroke. So what we'll do is select the base shape, and then select the stroke, black, and then we're going to align it to outside. Let's just increase that maybe by 2. That should do it. Part of me wants to belong there, even though it's not there. But yeah, we'll leave it for now. Cool, so that's that icon. It's looking quite cool. Relatively straightforward, right? And then onto the next one. So this looks like on the surface a little bit trickier, but it's actually probably easier than this one. So what we need to do is to create a star. So how many points we've got? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 points. Okay, just make sure that's dialed in. Cool. I'm going to delete that though, and then I'm going to drag out in my usual way. So I'm holding Shift again to clamp it on the rotation, and I'm pressing Command at the moment just to get the shape I want now. Releasing Command and just dragging again whilst still holding Shift and clicking. And that gets me something similar to what I'm looking for. Cool. So that's looking good. Just gonna fill that in. Cool. So let's color that in. Remove the stroke around the star. Color again. And then select the fill, press I, and let's select, say that one for now. Right, so it's not looking like much at all at the moment, but what we'll need to do is we're just going to draw the shapes that we need. Don't be too precious at this point. But as long as you're sort of anchoring, or snapping, sorry, to those corners, you should be alright. And let's say we'll take that one. We're gonna Control-C and paste in place in the usual way. Press E, and then we're gonna drag that little anchor point to the center. I'm just gonna rotate this around. Something like that. There we go. That's cool. And sample that color. So we can bypass that one completely. So what we'll do is we'll just reflect these. So Control-C and Control-V. So paste in place. And we're going to reflect it. It's fine. There we go. Now let's just sample those other colors. And there's one more that we'll need to do, isn't there? So paste in place, press E, just your anchor point, and then just rotate around to the point where it sort of closes the gap that intersects where you want it to be intersecting. And again, there we go. A little bit of separation here. I think the rotation was looking slightly off. There we go. Leave it like that. I'm going to paste this in place again. I'm going to remove this one. I'm going to remove that stroke. There we go. And keep, just the fill. It doesn't really matter what color it is. Select your pieces of the pie. Not yet. There you go. And same again, right click, make clipping mask. Awesome, that looks wrong. But that's just because we need to bring the star to the front. And there you go. That is essentially how you create those three icons, which are kind of like, the basis of the overall style. And you kind of get an idea now for how straightforward it is and how reusable these elements are. You can create symbols out of these as well. So the way to do that would be create a symbol and then star icon. Keep it dynamic. There we go, and the same for this. Group it all together. Skull icon, which I think is a coin icon, and group that, and then the same again. So this would be gem icon. There we go. So now, if you ever want extra instances, you can. And the cool thing about that is there's an option to replace the symbols. So because they're instances, you could just be like, oh, actually I want that to be a gem. I want that to be the star. So guys, that was a quick overview of creating those icons. In my opinion, we've kind of covered like the foundation of this UI just by capturing these icons. So join me in the next video where we'll be taking a look at creating the buttons from the UI. Before you know it, we're gonna start to see some real progress.